I'd like to start by thanking Jay and the Beyond Pesticides board, just not for honoring me with their Dragonfly Award, but for bringing sanity and compassion to their work for human welfare and a society that lives in harmony with the earth. I'd also like to thank Nancy Alderman and my colleagues in Connecticut for all their good work, without which, working together, we wouldn't have been able to accomplish the things that we have done. To me, it's clear that our civilization is totally out of balance with the planetary system that supports it. Former President George W. Bush once said that the American way of life is not negotiable, and he was right. Nature does not negotiate. Sandra Steingraber last night was right to be concerned about the kind of world her children will grow up in. So I thank everyone here. What you do now and in the future is important, and how you do it is also important. The outcome of our efforts is uncertain, but at least we can aspire to act with wisdom, with courage, with compassion, and with integrity. And I hope this conference will inspire you along that path. The journey to our collective sanity is not easy, but it is certainly worthwhile. So I wish us all good luck, and thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. That was a perfect introduction, and I think sets an important tone. I'm Jay Feldman, the director of Beyond Pesticides, and I'd like to welcome you, along with Jerry, to the Healthy Communities Green Solutions for a Safe Environment Conference. As you can see on the program, this is our 30th National Pesticide Forum, which is an important event for us as an organization, but also, I believe, for the community. We are, as an organization, seeking to stop our dependency on toxic chemicals, on toxic pesticides. And in the process, we're trying to bridge the interests of consumers, environmentalists, farmers, land and building managers, farm workers, in an effort to adopt policies and practices that end this dependency that we see on a day-to-day basis in our communities. So in the spirit of action, we hold an annual forum, this annual forum, which we move around the country. So if you know of other communities that want to bring the best minds and strategists together to solve these problems that we'll be talking about today, please let us know about that. Our goal at this conference is to bring people together. And we say that we're trying to bridge science, policy, and action. And that is, I think, hopefully captured in the range of speakers we have at this conference. Our goal, obviously, is to move communities toward green and sustainable practices, and to figure out how we affect that transformation in practical and policy terms. As Jerry said, we're really, and Sandra has obviously said, we're facing survivability, sustainability issues, and so these are not just academic issues, these are life-sustaining issues that we're talking about. But I guess one of my messages this morning, and I hope with this conference, is that we should bring an upbeat spirit to what we're doing, because we sit at the precipice, but we sit at the precipice, I believe, with solutions in sight. I believe, and I think this organization and most of you, hopefully, believe in the power of the individual to affect change. We're change agents, and we have to use this conference to nurture our sense of purpose, add to our sense of knowledge, and leave here empowered to act. Hopefully make some new friends along the way. We do have some challenges. We know we have the challenge here in Connecticut, where Connecticut has been on the leading edge in advancing phase-outs of pesticides in schools. We're being challenged by those promoters of pesticides that think that it cannot be done, and we have to be able to fight that challenge. Honeybees are dying because of a constellation of factors, including systemic pesticide use in intensive agricultural systems that ignore basic biodiversity and sustainability issues. Farm workers are suffering. You heard that yesterday with elevated risk factors. And genetic engineering, genetically modified organisms, which promised a future less dependent on pesticides, has done exactly the opposite, increased dependency in insect and weed resistance or plant resistance. You know, every year before we have this conference, we have a board meeting, which thankfully is energizing for me to be with a grassroots group of people and scientists who can form the basis for our struggle and our challenge and our success. And we took a little bit of time away from the meeting to go down to the Beinecke Rare Book Collection here at Yale and look at Rachel Carson's papers. And if you have a chance to do that at some point in the future, it's a very open space. You make an appointment, you go down there, and you can look through the files, which is fascinating. We came across a lot of documents. It's amazing to touch a person like her through her writing and see her own script. I think it's a very moving experience. One of the documents that we had before us was a pamphlet that we picked up, and I want to quote what we read in that. This is a quote from the document. I'll have you guess who wrote this. A serious threat to the continued supply of wholesome, nutritious food and its availability at present-day low prices is manifested in fear, in the fear complex building up as a result of recent unfounded sensational publicity and with respect to agricultural chemicals. These chemicals are necessary for a continued production of adequate food, feed, fiber. So who do you think was saying that at the time? That was the National Ag Chemicals Association, which became the American Crop Protection Association, which is now goes by the name of Crop Life. And that was a document in 1960 penned by the executive secretary of NACA. It has been nice to watch NACA go through its different phases of names, but hold on to their basic mission over the years. Then next to this was a document from the USDA, which was entitled, What's on the Label? And it was a consumer pamphlet that read like this. When you buy one of the 35,000 pesticides now on the market and use it as directed, there is a good chance you'll see the results claimed. So even then, back then, I don't think the government was quite sure whether pesticides did what they were intended to do. And we're hoping, and you're going to hear from some of the greatest minds actually in the country on GMOs during this conference. I'm not sure we're not in the same situation now in terms of getting the benefits claimed from the technology. Well, I don't think we've gotten, and I don't think you, by hearing your response, think we've gotten the results that have been claimed. The Beyond Pesticides created a pesticide-induced diseases database, which we keep adding to, and we're tracking at this point nearly 400 entries from scientific studies that link pesticides to public health diseases. Cancer, obviously, we heard about, asthma, reproductive failures, Alzheimer's, diabetes, Parkinson's. It's an astounding database to see these epidemiologic studies that are finding real-world experiences like this. At the same time, we're seeing the growth of the organic industry, a $30 billion organic industry, which I think we can safely say is challenging the essentiality or necessity of pesticides in food production systems. And that's key to this conference as well. You heard at the beginning from the Northeast Organic Farmers Association, Organic Farmers Association. And when you look at international studies in developing countries, one that was put out by the UN Environment Program, it's clear that organic can feed the world and, in fact, do a better job of feeding the world through sustainable practices. I believe deeply, those of you who know me, that organic is the solution to pesticide pollution, that we have the opportunity within our grasp. And I personally am honored and privileged to serve on an administration appointment to the National Organic Standards Board, and I can tell you in that process, as an environmental representative on a stakeholder board that includes the spectrum of people engaged in the environmental community, from retailers to consumers and environmentalists, farmers, handlers, scientists, that this is an open democratic process. It is our process. We have to, as Jerry said, maintain integrity when we create systems in law that establish parameters for acceptable, our relationship with the environment, with our food supply, with the people that grow our food. And so I urge you to use me as your stakeholder in that process. Beat on my door, use our Keeping Organic Strong webpage on the Beyond Pesticides site to engage in organic as the credible and important system that we have in place. We really view organic as a comprehensive approach, and I want to tie back that systems approach to what Sandra was saying last night, because I think there's a piece of that circle that we still need to connect, and we need to do that in this conference and as we leave here. And that goes to the issue of energy use in agriculture. You know, we talk a lot about organic replacing pesticides, replacing hazardous inputs, creating a safer workplace, creating less dietary exposure to hazardous materials, cleaning up waterways, protecting against drift of chemicals in our airways. And so we also can connect to energy, as Sandra connected last night. And here's the part of the loop I think that we need to talk about. Some of you remember a study that PepsiCo did for Tropicana about 2 years ago, and they were doing a sustainability audit, and they announced that at the end of the sustainability audit, they found, lo and behold, it wasn't the transport of their juice to the store that was their biggest energy sink. Guess what it was? Their use of fertilizers. Synthetic fertilizers was their highest fossil fuel energy use. And that's something important to keep in mind, because as we're promoting organic, as we're buying organic, it's not just the dietary exposure that we're protecting our families from. It's the environment and the planet that we're protecting. And when you look at the production of synthetic fertilizers, we're looking at nitrogen, and we're looking at the issues that Sandra talked about yesterday in terms of natural gas, a lot of natural gas. So certainly in advancing organic, we're reducing our dependency on that. And then there's the UN Food and Agriculture Organization report, Energy Use in Organic Food Systems, that found that we can reduce energy use, fossil fuel energy use, natural gas dependency by 30 to 50%, 30 to 50% by shifting to organic production. So we launched this conference with a positive spirit. And I hope some of my positive spirit rubs off on you, that I know we get overwhelmed and depressed and feel isolated sometimes in our work. But we are family, we're a village, and we support each other with a positive spirit to move ahead and solve these problems, because they are solvable. You're looking at someone who advanced organic when it was not credible to do that, who sat before congressional committees and used the O word in the Agriculture committees of Congress, sat next to Jesse Helms and said, "Yes, organic is the solution, Mr. Chairman." And he looked at me like I was crazy, of course. But here we are. We have a $30 billion industry, and we need to make sure that industry is our industry, that it reflects our values, our core principles, our concerns, and our positive spirit. So let's use the energy of this conference. Let's take the information on the hazard side and leverage it to promote the positive. This is our opportunity, and thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate it.